Another major director leaves 343, and what is going on with Callisto Protocol? So as you know, Halo has had a tumultuous after release time period, you could say, because when it came out, the campaign was fun. A lot of people praised it. The multiplayer was a ton of fun, and then it just grew stale because they failed to deliver on adding content. Now, the game itself, I've said this every single time I talk about Halo. I have to say it because the gameplay is spectacular. It's probably the best in the Halo series, especially with the multiplayer side of things. There's so much potential for this game. They've just completely dropped the ball on the live service stuff. Now, previously, we have seen some big changes at 343. The most notable thing of all was studio head Bonnie Ross left after 15 years, and she cited family reasons for that. People were wondering, was it family reasons or was it actually because of the failure of the post-launch content for Halo Infinite? I'm pretty sure it was confirmed later that it was actually for family reasons, so I hope everything is good with that. However, going forward, there were still a lot of questions to be had as to whether Halo Infinite was going to be able to bounce back. Now, we've gotten the winter release, the winter update, which seemingly has brought over some more content, added some more things to do. They finally added things that I absolutely can't believe have taken this long to come, such as campaign co-op for one, and mission replay. That just blows my mind that it took them a year to get mission replay out. Just craziness on that side of things, as you couldn't actually go back to play any of the missions, go collect skulls that were locked to certain missions. You had to start a brand new campaign or do all of that type of stuff, and it was just very annoying. But it is finally here. But again, the post-launch content has not been very good. And now we have some more news for 343 and more departures, as the multiplayer director has quit 343 after 11.5 years. And that person is Tom French. They shared this news on Twitter. And here's what Tom said. After over 11.5 years on Halo, I step out of my Spartan armor for the last time today to head off to new adventures. It's been a massive honor to have been part of a game I loved so much as a player and admired so much as a developer. I couldn't be more proud of my time at 343. So another big director has left Halo. We don't know who is going to be taking over for Tom French. So I don't think this comes as a surprise to anybody. The way that they handled games as a service, a live service game for Halo Infinite, just wasn't very good throughout the first year. They are getting better at it. We are seeing just how powerful Forge is. So that's a cool thing, but that really just relies on the community to go out and make content, which it's great that 343 put in a ton of time themselves to make this tool that the community can use. But at the end of the day, the developer still needs to go out there and make their own stuff that comes out on a consistent basis to keep people engaged in the game. And hopefully so things start to turn around. There's been a lot of house cleaning at 343, and it's because they haven't delivered in this first year. And I'm sure a lot of the people there have felt it and seen the comments and seen the negative feedback from everybody in the community. It probably weighs on them, and they're going on to different projects. Now it's up to Xbox, up to Microsoft to handle this thing, to make sure that this studio gets back on track and to make sure they give fans the Halo they deserve. This is one of the biggest franchises in all of video games. It deserves to be in a premier spot in the first-person shooter genre. And if it's not there, it's a shame. It's been mismanaged. And now is the time to turn this ship around, because this is a game that's going to be lasting maybe like 10 years or so. All right, now the next thing I want to talk about is Callisto Protocol. We have to talk about this. This game, to me, it's just kind of mind-blowing what's going on with it, at least on the Xbox and PC side of things, but specifically the Xbox side of things. This game was a game I was extremely excited for, and I didn't realize some of the stuff that is going on until it came out, which, I mean, makes sense because the review embargo was literally the day of release, which I think is always a red flag and a bad sign for a video game, and it's seeming to prove my point with Callisto Protocol. So there's lots of issues, lots of performance issues, but I think there's even more weird stuff going on here. But let's take a look at this. So Digital Foundry did their deep dive into the performance of Callisto Protocol, and they have come up with some really, really interesting things, specifically on what is missing from the Xbox version of the game. But before we talk about that, I do want to point out, if you haven't seen, the game on PC is just absolutely terrible. It says here, where DF crew member Alex Pataglia has been testing the game for the past few days. Sadly, there's no good news here. The game is a disastrous state as of launch. First up, this is yet another Unreal Engine 4 title that doesn't pre-compile its shaders, meaning that the first appearance of new models and effects is accompanied by a hefty starter that can bring even a high-end Core i9 12900K and RTX 4090 rig to its knees. Just absolutely crazy. Obviously, this game was terribly optimized, and you have to ask the question why. And then we get down here to the Xbox side of things, where I think there's a little bit of nefarious stuff going on here. I may be jumping into conspiracy, but it just kind of almost seems that way when you look at this game on the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox Series X. It says here, although not as severe as PC, Xbox Series consoles have problems too. The Xbox Series X version of the game should be a great way to play alongside the generally flawless PS5 version, but right now, that's unfortunately not the case. Like PS5, Series X offers a choice of quality or performance mode, but the Xbox version in quality mode is missing a major feature: ray tracing reflections. You do get ray tracing shadows, but all reflections are handled exclusively in screen space. And to me, that is just absolutely crazy to think about, because that's a major feature that they just literally did not put onto the Xbox Series X, or at least not implemented properly. And you ask yourself, well, how can that be the case? How can they totally forget to add in the same ray tracing stuff as they have on the PS5 to the Xbox Series X console that is a more powerful console and essentially should be able to run these things at the very least in the exact same way? And the only conclusion I can come to, because of a couple of other things, is because Sony had a big part in the development of this game. So if you remember the Callisto Protocol, they had help from over 150 Sony developers, and this information, it may have been available earlier, but the articles and I guess the media and the news picked up on this only about 2 days ago, or at least last week, you could say. This article here was published 2 days from when I'm recording this, 2 days ago. And Sony sent over 150 developers to help build this game. They say here, these images of the game's credits have been posted to Reset Era and highlight the numerous employees sent over by Sony's Visual Arts Services Group and its Malaysian team to assist with the game. While it is not unusual for Sony to help in the creation of third-party titles, this magnitude of assistance is not seen often. Generally, PlayStation will assist in certain areas of game creation like audio, cinematics, or even lending out hardware or software. While 150 developers may seem like a lot, there may be a good reason for Sony's massive involvement. The company holds the marketing rights to Callisto Protocol. An agreement between Sony and Striking Distance Studios allows the former to market the game on PlayStation. This means the most of the advertisements and trailers shown for the game will be branded as PlayStation content. So while you may think the game is a PlayStation exclusive, it is not. And that's it right there. This is why I think this stuff is occurring. So there's the lack of ray tracing, but then there's some other things that I think is even worse. There's no smart delivery. I don't know what games you guys can remember this generation that didn't opt into the smart delivery option on Xbox. I can't think of any other ones. This may be one of the first ones that I know of, these new games that have come out, that don't just automatically download you the newest version of the game. I've seen people have the Xbox One version, have the Xbox Series X version, and that is simply because there's no smart delivery. The second thing is it has that PlayStation $10 tax on it. In Canada, here where I live, games, Xbox games generally are $79.99. This game here is $89.99, a brand new IP from a brand new studio. I think is absolutely absurd. It should absolutely not be $89.99. Should not have that PlayStation tax onto it. Now, I've heard good things about this game. It's not that I want to shit on this game. Not that I think it is a completely bad game. I just personally believe this is something worth talking about, because this is clearly PlayStation getting involved with the marketing rights of a video game and using up the time of the studio to make sure that the game is really only optimized for the PlayStation 5, so that when this game does launch, only people on that one console are going to be able to have the best experience, a good experience, you could say, because essentially you can't barely even use it on PC. I've had friends even tell me who bought it for PC that are considering returning it because it just performs so terribly. Now, on the Xbox Series X side of things, you can still play it. I mean, it's not a terrible experience, but you don't have the ray tracing stuff, and then you don't have the smart delivery, which I know for most people, they may just say like, well, obviously you know which console version you're downloading. One says Xbox One, one doesn't, one says optimized for Series X and S, which sure, but the fact that PlayStation has given 150 developers, and this is one of the only new games that doesn't take part in smart delivery, you have to start to think maybe this was something that was a part of that deal to get over those 150 developers, because smart delivery, as we know, is a feature on Xbox and then on PlayStation, where we've seen multiple examples of people just getting confused and having issues downloading the correct version for the PS5. The smart delivery feature is a great feature. It is a feature that when Xbox showed it off and announced it, people were like, oh, this is just marketing terms. And clearly it was shown throughout these first 2 years that smart delivery is not just a marketing term. It is something that does really help with the overall user experience, that puts it as an advantage over the PlayStation 5, where you don't have to think about any of the stuff between the 2 generations of these consoles. But all that to say, Callisto Protocol, it's a shame, in my opinion, that they have all of these issues at launch. And you could say, it's a new studio, it's starting up, it's going to have issues, it's going to have all this type of stuff. It's still a fun game, it's still a good game, it's still a game worth playing, all those things. I can't comment on the actual game itself because I haven't played it yet, and I haven't bought it yet, and I'm not going to be buying it for a very long time because I just personally don't believe that we should be paying $89.99 for a game on Xbox that doesn't have at least parity in all the features that is on the PlayStation 5, something that PlayStation has been arguing over and over again about why the Activision Blizzard deal is bad. One of the things they always say is feature and content parity. And we can clearly see here that they don't prescribe to the same values as they are giving over to the regulator authorities. But that's it for me, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the multiplayer director leaving 343. And what do you think about Callisto Protocol? Do you think that the reason why these games aren't equal across the board is because they primarily focused on optimizing this game on the PlayStation 5 and didn't put enough time into the other versions of the game? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here and you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.